The Bible introduces us to Jubilism, a unique system designed by God to protect the weak and create economic justice for all. It begins with equal distribution of the land into private hands. Did the Jubilee economic system provide a way for people to get out of poverty? Did it act as an equalizer across the board, lost to modern economic theories? Let's examine Leviticus 25. How did the land Sabbath work as a farming system? While Moses was on Mount Sinai, the Lord said to him, "Give the following instructions to the people of Israel. When you've entered the land I'm giving you, the land itself must observe a Sabbath rest before the Lord every 7th year. For 6 years you may plant your fields and prune your vineyards and harvest your crops. But during the 7th year the land must have a Sabbath year of complete rest. It's the Lord's Sabbath. Don't plant your fields or prune your vineyards during that year. And don't store away the crops that grow on their own, or gather the grapes from your unpruned vines. The land must have a year of complete rest." What was to be done during the fallow year on the farm? You shall not sow your field or prune your vineyard. What grows of itself in your harvest you shall not reap, and you shall not gather the grapes of your undressed vine. It shall be a year of solemn rest for the land. The Sabbath of the land shall be for food for you, for yourself, for your servant, for your maid, for your hired servant, and for your stranger, who lives as a foreigner with you, for your livestock also, and for the animals that are in your land. Shall all its increase be for food. What was the economic benefit to regaining the family farm in the Jubilee year? Count off 7 weeks of years, that is 7 times 7, so that the 7 weeks of years total 49 years. Then have the trumpet blown on the 10th day of the 7th month. Have the trumpet blown throughout your land on the day of reconciliation or atonement. You will make the 50th year holy, proclaiming freedom throughout the land to all its inhabitants. It'll be a Jubilee year for you. Each of you must return to your family property and to your extended family. Did the Jubilee conclude 2 years of land rest? What was the reason for celebration that year? Was this a great economic equalizer? This is a year of complete celebration, so don't plant any seed or harvest what your fields or vineyards produce. In this time of sacred celebration, you may eat only what grows on its own. During this year, all property must go back to its original owner. How was the lease of the land to be transacted honestly between 2 parties? And if you make a sale to your neighbor, or buy from your neighbor, you shall not wrong one another. You shall pay your neighbor according to the number of years after the Jubilee, and he shall sell to you according to the number of years for crops. If the years are many, you shall increase the price, and if the years are few, you shall reduce the price. For it's the number of the crops that he's selling to you. You shall not wrong one another, but you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. How would God provide enough food during the Sabbath year? You are to keep my statutes and ordinances, and carefully observe them, so that you may live securely in the land. Then the land will yield its fruit, so that you can eat, be satisfied, and live securely in the land. If you wonder what will we eat in the 7th year if we don't sow or gather our produce, I'll appoint my blessing for you in the 6th year, so that it'll produce a crop sufficient for 3 years. When you sow in the 8th year, you'll be eating from the previous harvest. You'll be eating this until the 9th year, when its harvest comes in. Who really owns the land? Indigenous people, conquerors, later settlers, or God? The land is not to be sold with any finality, because the land belongs to me. You're sojourners and travelers with me. So throughout all your land inheritance, grant the right of redemption for the land. Is the Jubilee a way that a family can regain its land, lost due to ill health, foolishness, war, drought, or some other cause of poverty? If your brother's waxed poor, and has sold away some of his possession, and if any of his kin come to redeem it, then shall he redeem that which his brother sold. And if the man has none to redeem it, and himself be able to redeem it, let him count the years of the sale thereof, and restore the overplus to the man to whom he sold it, that he may return to his possession. But if he is not able to restore it to him, then that which is sold shall remain in the hand of him that's bought it until the year of Jubilee. And in the Jubilee it shall go out, and he shall return to his possession. How are houses in walled cities treated differently than country homes? Likewise, if a man sells a house for habitation in a walled city, then his redemption right remains valid until a full year from its sale. His right of redemption lasts a full year. But if it's not redeemed for him within the space of a full year, then the house that's in the walled city passes permanently to its purchaser throughout his generations. It doesn't revert in the Jubilee. How are houses outside the city walls and Levites' houses treated differently than city homes? The houses of the villages, however, which have no surrounding wall, shall be regarded as open fields. They have redemption rights and revert in the Jubilee. As for the cities of the Levites have a permanent right of redemption for the houses of the cities which are their possession. What therefore belongs to the Levites may be redeemed, and a house sale in the city of this possession reverts in the Jubilee, because the houses of the cities of the Levites are their possession among the sons of Israel. But pasture fields of their cities shall not be sold, for that's their permanent possession. How was money lending to be handled differently than today's banking system? Is there an ethical dilemma here? If any of your fellow Israelites become poor and are unable to support themselves among you, help them as you would a foreigner and a stranger, so they can continue to live among you. Don't take interest or any profit from them, but fear your God, so that they may continue to live among you. You mustn't lend their money at interest, or sell them food at a profit. I'm the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan, and to be your God. Was a lender in Israel not allowed to treat a fellow Israelite as a slave to pay off a debt? And if one of your brethren who dwells by you becomes poor, and sells himself to you, you shall not compel him to serve as a slave. As a hired servant and a sojourner he shall be with you, and shall serve you until the year of Jubilee. And then he shall depart from you, he and his children with him, and shall return to his own family. He shall return to the possession of his fathers, for they're my servants, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold as slaves. Was an ethical form of slavery allowed among foreign residents? Kidnapping for slavery was illegal and could incur the death penalty. Yet slavery was allowed for crimes like theft, to pay off debts, as welfare for the destitute, and similar ethical reasons. Show your fear of God by not treating them harshly. However, you may purchase male and female slaves from among the nations around you. You may also purchase the children of temporary residents who live among you, including those who have been born in your land. You may treat them as your property, passing them on to your children as a permanent inheritance. You may treat them as slaves, but you must never treat your fellow Israelites this way. Was the Jubilee also a time of release for Israelites who had sold themselves into slavery to a resident alien? If an alien or temporary resident with you becomes rich, and your brother beside him has grown poor, and sells himself to the stranger or foreigner living among you, or to a member of the stranger's family, after he's sold he may be redeemed, One of his brothers may redeem him, or his uncle, or his uncle's son may redeem him, or any who is a close relative to him of his family may redeem him. Or if he's grown rich, he may redeem himself. He shall reckon with him who bought him from the year that he sold himself to him to the year of Jubilee. The price of his sale shall be according to the number of years. He'll be with him according to the time of a hired servant. Would the purchase price for his freedom be proportional to the number of years until the Jubilee? Were Israelites to be treated as slaves or ordinary laborers? If there are many years left before the Jubilee, the Israelite will pay for their purchase in proportion to their purchase price. If only a few years are left, they'll calculate that and pay for their purchase according to the years of service. Regardless, the Israelite will be to the buyer like a yearly laborer. The buyer must not harshly rule over them in your sight. If the Israelite is not brought back in one of these ways, they and their children must be released in the Jubilee year, because the Israelites belong to me as servants. They're my servants. I brought them out of Egypt's land. I'm the Lord your God. Does the Jubilee economic system provide a way for people to get out of poverty? Does it act as an equalizer across the board, lost to modern economic theories? You decide.